Thank you today. We're here with Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame on YouTube podcast. Today we have a special guest, and his name is Ron the Dragon Essett from Indianapolis, Indiana, right here. So first I want to thank my sponsors, Roof It Forward, Financial Wise, One Day Weddings, Giorgio Pizzas, Media One Wave Media. So today I'm with Ronnie Essett, who was 210-20 as an amateur, 27, 6 and 2 draws, 16 KOs, North American boxing super middleweight champion, rated #1 in the world, and he fought for the world title 3 times. He's Ron the Dragon Essett. Ronnie, welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to be here on the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame. This is where I got my start boxing. This is where I established myself, so I'm very proud to be a member of the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Ronnie, what age did you start boxing? Because that's the first question I ask everybody. And where did you start at?
I started at age 13 years old at the Willis Boys and Girls Club, so that's where I started at. That's where I got my start after watching the 76 Olympics with Sugar Ray Leonard, Howard Davis, the Spinks brothers. That inspired me, and that's where I started boxing at 13 years of age at the Willis Boys Club.
And where is that located? Where is the Willis Boy Club?
It was on 30th Street, 30th and Keystone area. That's where it was.
Okay, and when did you eventually come to the Indy Powell Boxing Gym?
Well, I came to the Powell Gym in like 1979 after I boxed over at Riverside. Then I switched over to the Indianapolis Athletic Club.
So you was at the Sarge Johnson's gym as well, correct?
Yes, I was, but it was Riverside at the time. But then I did move over to the Powell Club. And
the Powell Club has been able to develop a lot of world champions. And first of all, I want to talk about Champ Chaney for a minute, Colin Chaney. What was your relationship with Champ Chaney?
Well, I loved Champ. He was one gentleman, and he knew his boxing, so I really was close with Champ. And once I went over to the Powell Club, I was able to develop myself. I won a couple of national titles while I was at the Powell Club, so I was really close with Champ, and he taught me very well.
Let me ask you something, be honest with you. Did he ever give you a rub down?
Of course he did.
Tell me about those rub downs.
Those rub downs were, it's all started out very good, and then you got hot. And
I remember he would giggle.
And Champ would giggle while you were struggling with the pain that the rub down gave you.
The Champs, because I remember one time in 1986, I told him to rub down my shoulder, and I was driving home to Greensburg, Indiana, in a 72 Nova, and I rolled down my window, and it was dead winter time, and I was still burned. I only seen one man that could take his rub downs, and that was Marvin Johnson.
That's the only one I've seen. I think he probably took some painkiller before he took it.
Okay, so what was your relationship with Marvin Johnson? Marvin Johnson probably, Tony Zell was in the 40s, so we don't remember him, but Marvin Johnson was Indianapolis, Indiana's probably greatest fighter ever. What was your relationship with Marvin Johnson?
Well, when I was coming up, I was an amateur still, but I got to spar a lot of rounds with Marvin Johnson also as a pro, so I just had a good relationship with Marvin. We used to have some hell of a wars in the gym.
Yeah,
and I respected Marvin because he was such a tough guy. He was very determined. Probably the most determined fighter that I've ever seen. He was so determined, and I respect that from Marvin. He was so determined.
Okay, and what is your relationship here in Indianapolis, Indiana? You have you live here. You have parents and people from here, and that's why you live in where? California now?
I live in California currently. My mother is still here in Indianapolis, so thank God I was able to come here for the holidays and visit the mom. So that's my relationship. I just come here to visit my mom. I love California. But there's no place like home to see your mom, and Indianapolis is their home, and I'm glad to be here.
And Ronnie, having all those fights in all your career, 210 wins, 20 losses. I mean, being on the 1984 Olympic team, fighting some of the greatest fighters in the world. For example, Frank Tate, who was a 1984 gold medal winner. Tell me, you fought Frank Tate. You was alternate on the team, and you fought him in the very last fight to go to represent the Olympics, correct?
In the box, we fought in the finals of the Olympic trials, and then we fought in the box off. So I had 2 chances to beat Frank Tate. He won both fights, but it was the highest level, and I respect Frank Tate as a world champion as well as Olympic guy. So it was just a tough fight. He got the wins, but it was a tough fight and a very, very great opportunity for me to try to make the Olympic team.
And I remember that you was so hot at one time, and so was Mark Breland, that when you guys were to engage into an amateur boxing fight, it brought a lot of big crowds. And you and Mark Breland, who's a 2-time welterweight world champion and a 1984 gold medal winner too, you guys went at it really, really hard too. Mark Breland had a great right hand, but what would you say your relationship with Mark Breland now that being a sparring partner? Tell me your relationship with Mark.
Yeah,
Breland.
me and Mark, we fought early in 1981, and I wanted a rematch, but it never materialized. But as a professional, I helped Mark get ready for a couple of his title fights in Florida. He became a real good friend of mine, a very wonderful fighter. He won the world title a couple times as a professional, and I have nothing but respect for Mark Breland because he's one of the truly good guys in boxing.
Okay, now look, I had an interview with Michael Spinks, and of course Michael Spinks is going to say the 1976 was the greatest team ever. You were on the 1984 team. We've talked about this over and over and over, okay? I think it's the 2 greatest, Olympic teams ever anyway. It doesn't matter which one you want to take, in my opinion. You make arguments on them both. The 76 team said they were better because they had the Cubans and the Russia, and 84's team actually had more gold medal winners, more world champions as a pro, and more people in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Now, I still will say the 76 team had the best 2 fighters ever, and that was with Michael Spinks and Sugar Ray Leonard, in my opinion. But, how can you count out Pernell Whitaker? You know what I'm saying? He was on the 84 team. Tyson was an alternate. Holyfield. I mean, those guys were warriors.
Right. So it's always going to be a valid argument for both teams. Me, as a member of the 84 team, I'm always going to say 84.
Yeah.
But I understand the arguments for both teams. Both of them were great teams.
What's your relationship with any of the 84 people? Do you stay in touch with any of the 84 teammates?
Yeah, I stay in touch with the ones. There are a few of them in Florida. Henry Tillman, the gold medalist who beat Mike Tyson out. I see him in Florida. So we all try to get together, have reunions. So the 84 team, we try to stay close and stay in touch with each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, and Marvin's getting inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame in California this year, October 3rd. Am I going to see you there?
100% I'll be there, no doubt. I have nothing but respect for Marvin, very proud of him, so I will definitely be there.
Absolutely. And you are inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame as well, correct?
I don't think so, but
that's fine. When do you say, okay, I remember your greatest win as a pro is when you beat Robbie Sims, who had just beaten Roberto Duran, correct?
Yes, sir. I think that was one of my biggest
wins. And, I still remember you fighting Doug DeWitt, who was the WBO Super Middleweight World Champion at one time. You guys fought to a draw, correct?
Yeah, so I had a couple good wins, so I'm very proud of what I was able to do. Unfortunately, I didn't get a world title, but I did some very credible things in boxing.
Yeah, and you fought 3 times for the world title. I mean, not many guys get that opportunity.
And that's not an easy task,
No.
after you lose to get back and to come back up and still have the confidence. the return to another title opportunity. So I'm proud of that also.
And I would say you'd be hotter like 1991, 1992. I seen you come in the top 10 as you was rated in the top 10. And then I seen you move up to number 1, and that's when you fought for the title in Italy, correct?
Right. I fought for the title in Italy against Mauro Galvano. So I was the number 1 ranked contender, so they had to fight me, but it was over in Italy. So I think if it was any place other than Italy, I'd be world champion, but I have no regrets. So I'm just happy having the opportunity to fight for the world titles.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember you being right there at the top with all the top dogs, and you got to think about the 1984, probably the greatest alternate on the 1984, maybe end up one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, Iron Mike Tyson. I mean, come on, can we? He was 17, in 1984. So I didn't think he really developed. But I remember him dropping Henry Tillman as an amateur, but Tillman got the decision over it, correct?
Yeah, it was an amazing time, that Mike Tyson at 17 years of age is that powerful and that scary, So Henry Tillman got the decision, but I think in the long run, Mike Tyson proved that he was the better
fighter. Yeah, Mike proved he's probably the best fighter on the '84 team. Would you agree or no?
I don't know.
What about Sweet Pea? He won 4 titles. You got Sweet Pea at 135, 140, 147, 154.
Sweet Pea, you got to talk about Meldrick Taylor.
Meldrick Taylor, Division, 140, 147 world champ.
It was some great members of the '84.
What about Holyfield? What about
Holyfield?
The only 4-time heavyweight world champion who beat Tyson. Yeah. What'd you think? What was going through your head when Holyfield got his ear bitten off by Mike Tyson? What'd you feel?
It was amazing to me that Tyson would go to that level, that extreme. That was the most amazing thing to me, that somebody would bite somebody's ear, during a fight. So. I respect Mike Tyson. I love him and Holyfield, but it was very shocking to me to see Mike Tyson bite his ear off.
And I thought Mike was complaining because they was bumping heads, and that's
part of fighting that happens. That happens all the time. If everybody bit everybody because of a few head bumps, we would never have any decent fights. So I think he used that as an excuse.
What would you say was, your greatest moment here in Indianapolis, Indiana? What was your greatest feeling here in Indianapolis, Indiana?
My greatest feeling, I tell you the God's honest truth, was when I won my first Indiana Golden Glove.
Oh, really?
I mean, it was something that I dreamed about. I would go down to the Tender Armory and watch the amateurs fight all the time. And the one thing I wanted to do was win the Indiana Golden Gloves. And once I accomplished that, I felt I was on my way as a boxer.
Yeah. It was pretty ironic today. As I brought you in here, in my Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame office, I have a signed St. Louis 1984 jacket, and you and Victor Levine, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, both signed it. So I have that for here at the office. What was your feeling in 1984 when you and him were able to win the National Golden Gloves out of here in Indiana?
Well, the thing about it, I had moved up from 147 pounds
to 156.
To 156, so I had to win the National Golden Gloves to qualify for the Olympic trials.
I got you.
So it was a big, major win for me to win the National Golden Gloves in 1984, because that was the only way I qualified for the Olympic trials. So it was a very important title for me to win that National Golden Gloves.
Name some guys that you fought in the amateurs that stand out to you. Just name some great fighters that you fought. Mark Breland, world champion.
Frank Tate,
world champion.
Dennis Milton.
Who fought for the title against
Julian Jackson.
Julian Jackson, yeah.
Great
Dennis
amateur.
Milton, yeah.
So So I fought all kind of great people. I fought a guy named Kevin Bryan, who after the '84 team, he ended up ruling a while as a 156 pounder in the amateurs. So fought a lot of great fighters all the time during that time because we were just loaded with great talent in the early '80s
The
and
80s
mid
was
'80s.
loaded, you know, and in '76 those teams were loaded. So that was your greatest. What would you say your greatest win was as a pro?
Yeah, it would have to be the Robbie Sims fight, you know, because Robbie Sims, after all, had beat Roberto Duran. So to get a win over a guy who beat Roberto Duran, to me, was the pinnacle of my professional career.
And what a lot of people don't understand, okay, back in the old days, when you had a tie, for 12 rounds, we fought an extra round, Wyatt. Back then, we fought an extra round, so they would go 13th to a 13th round. And Ronnie was part of one of those too, right? For the NABF type, it was a sudden death round, right?
13th sudden death round. It was something that they had implemented. You know, they don't do it no more, which I think is best. But at the time, a 13th sudden death round, I beat Sanderline Williams to win the NABF middleweight title. So it was a hell of an accomplishment for me to go out there and do that extra round and win the win the NABF title.
It's unbelievable. You know, and I heard you talking about you would go on some 12-mile runs as part of your training. And a lot of people say, you know, some of your crazy training. I remember going on 5 and 7 mile runs, and you know, and one of my buddies says, "Oh, he's lazy. He don't want to get a job." I'm like, well, let's just go for a run. We'll see who ends up croaking over first. Right. Tell them about what kind of training schedule was you on for the Olympics? I mean, tell them about all the Olympic training schedules you was on. What kind of training was you guys on?
Well, unfortunately, in the training for the '84 Olympics, me and Virgil Hill were very good friends. So Virgil Hill came here to Indianapolis, and we trained at the Power Club. I think Virgil sparred with Marvin as well as myself. So we had top-level training getting ready for the Olympic trials. So we were very beneficial to be here in Indianapolis and spar with Marvin and have that top level of competition with Virgil and Marvin. Spar with both of those guys. Getting ready for the Olympic trials was just awesome for me.
Yeah, and then talk a little bit about Hank Johnson. Hank Johnson was a coach on the USA boxing team, correct?
Yeah,
and he was with the Army team, right?
Hank Johnson went a couple international trips with me, so he was one of the top trainers at that time also. So it was beneficial also to be associated with that guy, too.
Absolutely. I mean, the Johnson brothers, whether they're both in the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame. You know, what would you say the greatest fighter out there right now is, in your opinion, your top best pound for pound? I have mine. Who do you think your best top pound for pound fighter is right now today?
Well, I think after it's all said and done, I still got to go with Canelo as the top fighter right now.
Top fighter. I have. Here's what I got. I got Terrence Crawford #1. I have Canelo 2. And then Lopez 3, and you can switch it away, or Tyson Fury 3, wherever you want to put. Where you put. What is your feeling on the heavyweight division right now? What I like seeing right now, Ronnie, is that at least them guys are getting the attention that they deserve that we didn't have back in the old days. Back in the old days, we had Norton and Ali and Frazier and Jerry Corey, all these great heavyweights. Now we're starting to get at least Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Names are getting out there.
Well, I think it's well deserved for those guys. I'm a Wilder fan. I wish Wilder get it back together. I think he's still capable of beating Fury. But, you know, I think it's a good time for the heavyweights right now. And it's good to see because as the heavyweights go in boxing, I think boxing goes also.
Absolutely. You know, and one thing I noticed on the Wilder fight, I never once saw him go to the body. I saw him headhunting way too much. And Tyson Fury, I feel, has gotten in a lot better shape because he went through that depression time. He's gotten in a lot better shape. Another year goes by, and he's training. He's got his weight down, got his movement. His movement is really deceiving for the size on how he can box.
No doubt.
What would you say?
Well, I think Tyson Fury is very underrated. I think he's a little better than a lot of people think. I still am a Wilder fan, and I hope Wilder is able to put it together where he can beat Fury. But otherwise, I think Fury is going to be dominant for as long as he decides to fight, which, in my opinion, would only be a couple more years.
What do you think about Joshua versus Wilder?
Joshua and Wilder, I always thought that Anthony Joshua would get knocked out by Deontay Wilder, and I feel the same way.
I got you. So you graduated here from where? What high school?
Arsenal Technical High School.
1981.
1981 grad.
I got you. So and then after that, what year did you turn pro as a fighter?
I turned pro in the winter of 1984 after Olympic trials. After losing to Tate and being an alternate on the Olympic team, I turned pro that winter.
And who did you sign with? Because you lived in a few different states. You was in Florida for a while. You had 5 or 6 fights in Florida.
I was in Florida. Lived up in Baltimore.
Okay.
But initially, to be quite honest, my first few professional fights were actually with the Duvas.
With the Duvas?
Yeah,
I got you, Lou. Yeah.
With the Duvas, I fought with main events. I fought my first 3 professional fights with main events, the Duvas.
You know, and I remember when Marvin had world championship fights here in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. You were on the undercard, correct?
Yes, I was.
Now, where was that at? Market Square Arena, or where was it?
It was at MSA at Market Square Arena, yes.
Yeah, and he fought here for the title twice, I believe. He had 2 title fights here.
Yeah, it was twice, yeah.
And I remember him fighting at the Tyndall Armory. Yeah. Did you fight any at the Tyndall Armory as a pro? Once.
Yes,
the Tyndall Armory.
Yes, I did.
Who did you fight?
I'm not sure who. I can't remember the name, but I fought there once.
Yeah, and what is your feelings here for Indiana as a fighter?
What you mean?
Well, I think it's a great meeting point for the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? Mm. So I think some of the best Midwest fighters come out here. You got Columbus, Ohio. You got Ohio. You got Youngstown, Ohio. You got those fighters. You got so I think it's a great place for the middle of the road for Indiana. Because let's face it, the Indiana 500 is the top dog, right?
No doubt.
Why don't we have the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame bring in all the stars and get to that level 2 and bring all the stars? It's right in the meeting. St. Louis and all of them. Get them all.
Yeah, I do think it's a great meeting place for the Midwest. To gather up some fighters. So hopefully one day you'll be able to put together a program where all us in the Midwest can meet up, and that'll be awesome.
Anything you want to say to your fans today? Because I remember Michael Buff introduced you as Ron the Dragon Essett.
Well, I just like to thank all the fans for all the years, and I get such joy being here in Indiana. Glad to come on your show, and thank you a lot for inviting me on this show. And I'd like to send love out to all the fans of Indiana, those that remember me, even those that just are becoming fans and watch me on YouTube or whatever the case may be. But I'm very pleased to be here with you.
Yeah, we were just down in Giorgio's at the pizza place, and they were showing your fights on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, just Google up Ronnie Essett, and it's Essett is Essett,
yeah.
And it's kind of hard to spell, but Ronnie Essett on YouTube, right. Some of his fights, especially your fight with Doug DeWitt. I felt you won that fight. That was probably, in my opinion, one of your biggest moments. And who did you say your matchmaker was? Well, there was a great matchmaker out there for you, too. What was his name? Johnny Boz?
The best.
Johnny Boz, one of the underrated, and rest in peace. He's been one of the great promoters in boxing. He's worldwide famous, as well.
He had multiple world champions, Johnny Boz. He was such a great boxing mind, you know.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed talking to Johnny. I miss him to this very day, picking up the phone and talking to Johnny Boz all hours of the day. he's one of those guys that'll call you up at 3 o'clock in the morning to talk boxing. That's just the way he was.
I'm with you.
But we all love Johnny Boggs, and we miss him to death.
Yeah, I got one guy, Keith Boggs. We'll call up. We might be a year go by. We'll call up. We'll start talking boxing with Johnny, with Keith, and we'll start. Well, here's what we think, and here's what we think. Some good stuff. I implemented the Lifetime Achievement Award this year, and I also put the Hero Award. That's for trainers, matchmakers, ring announcers, different people that we can implement into the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame because they deserve their recognition as well. But obviously the top dog, the fighters, will always be the attraction. I go to all the fights to see the fighters. Who in your career did you idolize? You said you idolized this 1976 team, got you motivated to be a professional, to be a boxer, correct? Mm-hmm. Who do you like on the 1976 team?
Well, Sugar Ray Leonard, Howard Davis. I really idolized everybody on that team, because I just like their spirit. They had a great spirit as a team, so that was one of the things that really drew me to those guys and made me want to be a part of the boxing game. That's what got me to start boxing in the 76 Olympic team.
And, I was a big, of course, I was Marvin Johnson, so I thought Marvin Johnson could never get beat. You're one of those kids that, you're kind of naive. You think he'll never get beat. So I saw him fight, Michael Spinks, and I saw him get hit with that uppercut. I'm like, there ain't no man ever hit Marvin Johnson like that. One of the great fights, 43-6, 35 knockouts, Marvin Johnson. And then you got Michael Spinks, 31-1, and with 21 KOs, and the only fight he ever lost was to Mike Tyson. And let's face it, was he really a heavyweight?
Nope.
No, that's
really
what I'm trying
was.
to say. He wasn't really a heavyweight. And then he makes the richest fight in 1988 for $13.5 million. That was pretty impressive. What do you think?
Michael Spinks really done a good job with his career,
Great career.
Ruling at the light heavyweight division, then going up to make the
heavyweight,
the big bucks.
He was the first person, and here's what a lot
beat Larry Holmes.
Yeah, here's what a lot of people don't understand. Larry Holmes was 48-0. He was getting ready to tie Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record, correct?
Yeah.
Michael Spinks challenges him for the heavyweight championship of the world.
And beats him.
And he doesn't get that 49-0 to tie Rocky Marciano. And that's when Larry Holmes said, Rocky Marciano couldn't carry my jock strap.
I agree with that. I agree with that statement. I agree with that statement.
Yeah, I'm a Holmes fan, too.
All due respect to Rocky Marciano.
I'm with you.
I don't think he could carry Larry Holmes' jock strap. I agree with that.
Who had a better jab, Muhammad Ali or Larry Holmes?
Well, I'm a Muhammad Ali fan, so I could never say anybody can do anything better than Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I got you. Is there anything else you want to share with your fans today? Anything you want to say?
No, I just want to say, we having a tough year here, 2020 is getting ready to end. Let's look forward to making 2021 a better year and get this boxing thing rolling again, and let's everybody have a good time and enjoy life. Enjoy and appreciate life. That's my most important thing that I can say.
Amen. And I want to thank Ashley Houk for making me this Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame mask for my logo. And Ronnie has his Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame t-shirt on today. Ronnie is a Hall of Famer. He's a great fighter. He's a great man. And he's right here from Indianapolis, Indiana. He's born here in, was it 63?
1963.
Man, I'm doing pretty good, Ronnie.
No doubt.
And, so Indianapolis has a lot of great fighting fans here. I think we're implementing the greatness with Indiana, and then we're trying to keep it at high level. Anybody that fought here in Indiana is eligible for the Hall of Fame, whether it was amateur and pro. They're eligible for the Hall of Fame. I think that's how you keep it going for years and years and years. And anybody that is a celebrity guest, for example, Mike Tyson, if he ever wanted to come into the Indian Boxing Hall of Fame as a celebrity guest, how could you not take Michael Tyson? He's one of the best fighters ever. How could you not take him?
No doubt.
That's true. That's true. Well, Lonnie, anything else that you want to say? Anything you want to end on today?
Well, like I said, starting out here in Indiana, this is where I always will consider one of my stepping stones into the next level. Starting here, I think took me to the next level. The hardness, the different gyms that I had to go through, they toughened me up to be ready to fight on the world-class level. So I thank Indiana for getting me ready for my boxing career, which it was an integral part of.
Well, you fought at the highest level. There's not many guys that can say they had 210 wins as an amateur. There's not many guys that can say they fought for the world title 3 times. There's not many guys that can say they even fought for a world title. And you fought for you was the NABF middleweight champion. You went 13 rounds to win your NABF championship. Not many. That rule has been down. You won the 1984 National Golden Gloves here in Indiana. I think you've represented Indiana at a high level. We want to congratulate you and thank you for your time today, Ronnie.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm proud to be here.
Amen. Amen. Anything else? Boy, anything else we should say? What do you want to say? Anything else, Ronnie?
That's it.
Thank you
for tuning in.
Ronnie the Dragon Essett. Thank you so much. God bless.